Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and zero in on what truly matters. Today, we're tackling a story that might just surprise you about one of America's, well, formerly hottest cities.
That's right.
For a whole decade, this place was, the symbol of urban growth, seemed unstoppable. But then, in 2023, something really unexpected happened.
hmm
For the first time in 10 years, this city saw a net population decline.
It's quite a shift, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
not just people moving out. We're seeing major tech companies kind of ghosting downtown.
Ghosting.
Yeah, leaving millions of square feet of office space empty. Think Google,
Yeah.
Meta, big players. They seem to have gotten cold feet.
Okay.
And Tesla, they actually de-annexed a big chunk of their gigafactory land.
Yeah.
Pulled it right out of Austin's city limits.
Which impacts taxes, city control.
Exactly. And then there's Oracle. Remember they moved their HQ to Austin?
Yeah, big news at the time.
Well, they just moved again to Nashville after only 4 years in Austin.
4 years. Oracle left after just 4 years in the city that was supposed to be the future.
Yep, 4 years.
That alone tells you something massive is shifting. So what is going on in Austin? This was the city everyone wanted to be in, always topping those best places to live lists.
Right.
And now the story's completely flipped.
It really has. And that's what our deep dive is all about today. We want to unpack the reasons behind this dramatic change.
Okay.
We'll trace Austin's incredible rise, its equally rapid cool down, and really look at how all this is hitting the housing market now and, looking forward.
Sounds good. So we're going to get the full picture, the boom, the correction, the whole roller coaster.
Exactly. A comprehensive look at a city's journey.
All right, so to really get this, we need to rewind a bit, back to Austin's golden decade, sort of pre-pandemic.
Yeah, for 10 solid years, Austin was, well, it felt untouchable. Consistently ranked super high as a place to live.
And the fundamentals were strong, right? Good economy, lots of jobs.
Definitely. Robust economy, high job growth, and here's the kicker. The cost of living was actually pretty low compared to, say, California or New York.
Especially for a tech hub.
Precisely. That combination acted like a magnet. It pulled in a steady stream of people year after year.
And that influx fueled more growth, more development.
It was a virtuous cycle for a long time. Austin really was synonymous with prosperity and opportunity.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Then COVID hits, and what was already a boom just went into overdrive.
It really did. The pandemic was like an accelerant. And a huge factor, maybe the huge factor, was the sudden shift to remote work from home.
Right, WFH changed the game.
Totally. Imagine you're working for a tech company in San Francisco making good money. Suddenly your boss says you can work from anywhere.
So you keep the San Francisco salary.
Exactly. And you move to Austin, where your money goes way further, especially on housing back then. Homes were a fraction of the price.
It became a complete no-brainer for a lot of tech workers.
It's a total no-brainer. And it wasn't just individuals. Like we mentioned, Tesla, Oracle. Big companies moved their headquarters there, too, during this period.
So you had the people, the companies. What else?
Well, you also had rock-bottom interest rates. Borrowing money for a house was incredibly cheap.
Okay.
Plus, stimulus money was flowing into the economy. So you had jobs, cheap borrowing, extra cash. It was kind of a perfect storm.
And the housing market result was predictable, I guess? It went crazy.
Absolutely wild. It felt like around early 2021, just everyone decided Austin was the spot. A switch just flipped
Houses selling instantly.
in hours or days max.
Hmm.
Multiple offers, way over asking price became the norm.
Wow.
People were waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, anything to get the house. It was a feeding frenzy.
Just scrambling to get in.
Seriously. And the builders, oh, they leaned in hard.
I'll bet. How so?
They started auctioning off homes, not just finished ones, but houses that were barely planned, even empty lots. Highest bidder took all.
Auctioning lots.
Yep, and getting way above the lot premium,
Yeah.
that extra cost for a better spot in the development. It was, frankly, completely insane.
People were just desperate. Pay whatever it took. Any house, any size, any location.
That was the vibe, whatever it took.
And this madness went on for a couple of years.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Until maybe mid to late 2022 for the peak frenzy. And the result, home values went through the roof.
Doubled.
Crippled.
Both. Seriously. Some homes doubled, even tripled in value in less than 2 years.
Which sounds great for homeowners initially, but then comes the tax bill.
Yes, the consequence. The local county appraisers saw these crazy sale prices and said, okay, your house is worth that much now. And property taxes got reassessed sky high.
Oh, this is where Texas's tax system really bites, right?
It absolutely does. It's something maybe newcomers didn't fully appreciate. Texas has no state income tax. That's the big
Big
headline.
lure.
Right. But property taxes are among the highest in the nation. In Austin, you're easily looking at 2%, maybe 2.5%, even pushing 3% of your home's value every year.
Especially in those newer suburban areas.
Especially there, because you've got MUDs, municipal utility districts, or other development districts funding all the new roads and schools. Someone's got to pay. So let's do the math. $1 million home. That's potentially $30,000 a year in property taxes.
Easily. 30 grand a year just in taxes. That's $2,500 a month on top of your mortgage, insurance. It's a huge ongoing cost.
Okay, so the costs are mounting. The frenzy was maybe unsustainable. What stopped the music?
Well, things were already getting stretched thin, people getting priced out. But the big trigger, the thing that brought the wild ride to a screeching halt, the Federal Reserve raising interest rates.
Aggressively raising.
Very aggressively. And it's fascinating how fast things turned. It really shows how much of that boom was fueled by those ultra-low rates and the specific pandemic circumstances like remote work.
So rates go up.
And buyer confidence just evaporates almost overnight.
People got nervous.
Extremely nervous. Listings suddenly started sitting on the market for weeks, then months. Price reductions became common.
Lots of price drop notifications.
Constantly. And you even saw sellers pulling their homes off the market entirely because they couldn't get the price they wanted, the price they maybe could have gotten 6 months earlier.
They were anchored to that peak boom value.
Exactly. Holding on to that number in their head.
So that explains the market halt. But why are people actually leaving Austin now? We mentioned the property taxes.
That's a huge piece of it, for sure. Those crazy high property taxes are a major driver. But it's not the only thing.
What else?
Well, there are lifestyle factors. Many people who moved, maybe from milder climates, really struggled with the Texas heat. It's intense.
And the allergies. I hear about Austin allergies all the time.
Oh, yeah. Year-round allergies are a real thing there for a lot of folks. So, heat, allergies,
Okay, they add up.
and economically, things changed there, too.
Time. We saw massive tech layoffs hitting Austin hard. Remember all those companies that moved or expanded there?
Right. Layoffs hit those workers.
Plus, many companies started changing their WFH policies, calling people back to the office, at least hybrid, which undoes that no-brainer calculation for some.
Exactly. And a lot of the startups that maybe popped up or boomed during the pandemic, many of them have shuttered since then. The easy money dried up.
Okay, so taxes, lifestyle, economic headwinds. What about just getting around?
Oh, the infrastructure strain. Huge issue. Austin grew so fast, the roads, the transit,
Yeah.
it just couldn't keep up.
Traffic got insane.
Completely insane.
Yeah.
Gridlock. Just a nightmare to get anywhere that wears people down.
And even with prices correcting slightly, homes are still expensive.
Very expensive. The value proposition just isn't what it was. You might pay, say, $1.7 million for a decent but not huge house in an Austin suburb.
Like 2,000, 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, something like that. Whereas in another growing city, maybe like Charlotte, North Carolina, that same money could buy you a literal mansion.
So the relative value has shifted.
Dramatically.
Okay, let's put some numbers on the current market then. What do the stats actually show?
Right, so according to the source material, the median sales price in Austin is around $565,000.
Which is still pretty high nationally.
It is, yeah. Still well above the national average. But here's the key comparison. Year over year, Austin prices are down 5.8%.
Wow, nationally.
Nationally, prices were up 5.8% in the same period.
Wow, that's a big divergence. So definitely a correction, not a crash, but a real cooling off.
Exactly. A correction, a rebalancing. And you see it in other stats, too. Homes are taking longer to sell.
How long?
About 51 days on average, compared to 42 days the year before. So things are sitting longer.
And are people still paying over asking?
Much less often. The sale-to-list price ratio is down to 97.4%. Basically, sellers are accepting offers slightly below their asking price now.
Makes sense.
And get this, nearly 38% of homes on the market have had price drops. Almost 4 out of 10.
38%, that's huge. It really shows sellers adjusting expectations.
It does. It suggests homeowners are still maybe thinking their house is worth peak boom prices,
Right.
but the market reality forces them to either cut the price or just pull the listing.
And buyers, are they jumping back in with lower prices?
They're cautious. Interest rates are still relatively high, which impacts affordability even with lower prices. There was some hope of rates coming down when this data was gathered.
But the main thing for buyers now is they have time and options.
Exactly. Homes aren't vanishing in hours. You can actually look around, compare properties, negotiate a bit. Buyers have more leverage than they've had in years.
Okay, so if Austin is cooling and some people are leaving, where are they going and who's still coming in?
Interesting data on that. Only about 1% of people searching for homes from outside metro areas are looking to move into Austin now.
Only 1%? That's tiny compared to before.
90. The main groups still looking to move to Austin are coming from places like San Francisco, Dallas, LA.
So people from other expensive areas, maybe with more cash.
That seems likely, yeah. People who can still afford Austin's prices or see relative value compared to where they are.
And the outflow. Where are Austinites heading?
A mix. Some are staying in Texas, moving to places like San Antonio or Corpus Christi, presumably for lower costs.
Yeah.
But many are leaving Texas altogether. Popular destinations include Denver, Albuquerque over New Mexico, Asheville, and Raleigh in North Carolina. Sort of other appealing lifestyle cities.
Interesting. But what about the areas around Austin? You hear about Williamson County, Hayes County?
Ah, yes. That's a key part of the story. While Austin proper, the city limits, saw that population decline, the surrounding metro counties are still booming.
So people are just moving further out.
Seems like it.
Oh.
Moving north to Williamson County, south to Hayes County, you generally get more house for your money there, newer construction.
Still expensive, I assume. And the taxes.
Still expensive compared to many places, yes. And property taxes are still high out there too, often financing new schools and roads.
Huh.
But you get more space, maybe a newer home.
And builders are probably active there?
Very active.
Mm.
And they're offering incentives now help with closing costs, buying down interest rates to try and counteract those higher mortgage rates and keep sales moving.
Gotcha. So the growth hasn't stopped, it's just shifted outwards.
Shifted, yeah. But there's another layer here. Specific types of inventory within Austin are struggling more than others.
Like what?
Downtown condos,
Yeah.
specifically. And also those really expensive, brand new, $1 million+ homes just outside the immediate urban core.
Why those?
Lots of inventory, but not enough demand right now. The thinking is that the tech layoffs really shrank the pool of affluent buyers who would typically go for those high-end properties.
So the market for luxury downtown living or near downtown mansions isn't there like it was.
It appears significantly diminished,
Mm.
which means prices for those specific segments likely need to come down quite a bit more to match the current demand.
So putting it all together, Austin's story is, well, it's a journey from this unstoppable growth engine to a city now facing a pretty major correction. It's this complex mix of economics, company decisions, WFH trends, lifestyle stuff.
It really highlights how dynamic these things are, how quickly the narrative around a city can change. It
Right.
wasn't just one thing. It was this interplay of factors.
It absolutely was. And it really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It raises some big questions, like what does Austin's experience tell us about how sustainable that kind of super rapid growth really is?
Right. Can infrastructure and affordability ever keep pace?
And what about the future of remote work? How will that continue to reshape cities, maybe creating booms and busts in different places?
And finding that balance, between being a desirable place to live and work, but also keeping it affordable for the long haul, that's the tightrope.
It really is. And maybe the final thought for listeners is, what can we learn from Austin's roller coaster? Could another city be next? And are we thinking critically enough about how our cities grow and change?